this discussion on the large-scale interactive process. It was in the year 1997 that K. Venkatraman, our friend who's a member of the board of Larsen & Toubro, asked me a question. He said, Anil, by the time we create a training program which starts at the top leadership level, by the time the communication reaches the people on the shop floor, it takes many months, because the top speaks to the senior people, senior speak to the middle people, middle to junior to supervisors, and then the shop floor. He said, can you invent a process for us, for our engineering business, in which simultaneously we can involve thousands of people into one vision, one way of doing things, so that we can bring about change much faster. So I thought about it and I said to him, KV, we have never done something like this, but I know of people in the United States who follow whole systems thinking, and I'll talk to them. And that's how I spoke to friends in the United States, and we came across the work of Dr. Kathy Dan Miller, the founder of the Dan Miller Tyson Associates. You see, Dr. Kathy Dan Miller and her colleagues, Ron Lippitt in University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, they had done something in the 80s with Ford Motor Company, which had helped them to devise a method of creating a very large-scale solution which involves simultaneously all the stakeholders in envisioning and planning and implementing change within a company. So that's how the large-scale interactive process was invented in the 80s in response to the challenge that Ford Motor Company was facing. And Ford at that time was being threatened by competition from Japanese companies, and they had invented this process, and because of which Kathy and our colleagues had developed this. This is based on the very interesting equation which says, in an organization, if you want to have change brought about, then you must follow the equation D into V into F. The product of these three multiples, D, V and F, if the product of this is greater than R, then T, the transformation occurs. Now what is D? D is shared dissatisfaction in the company. It is like positive restlessness, which is that everybody has this excitement inside that we are not doing enough and we have much more potential to do more. 2, there is a shared vision of the visualization they have in their hearts about what is possible in the future. And 3, they have a shared understanding of F, which are the first steps needed to translate that vision into action. If the product of these 3 is greater than R, which is resistance to change, which is preventing the change from taking place, then change would occur. So what Kathy and her colleagues invented, they said we will form a design team. Design team would consist of a representative sample, like a microcosm of the organization that we wish to bring about the change in, which is the macrocosm. So the microcosm would consist of people at all the levels, all the different functions, and all the locations. Plus, it would consist of people who were both optimists as well as cynics. So cross-hierarchical, cross-functional, cross-locational and cross-attitudinal. The concept was, if you design a change process involving a design team which was truly representative, then when you implement the change, you will not have any surprises. So that is the concept of design team. Then they said, we should do a meeting in which we call all the stakeholders into the meeting. So the employees, of course, the customers whom the organization serves, the business partners or suppliers who deal with the company, the community that the company interacts with, the financial community or investment analysts, or the stock market people who track the stock of the company, or the bankers, for example. Even somebody who represents Mother Nature in case your business has a big impact on the ecosystem. So people who speak on behalf of the ecological system. So they said the first part of this large-scale interactive process meeting should be listening to the voices of the stakeholders. So we should call a live stakeholder into the meeting in which a large number of people are present. It could be from 100 to 2,000 people. And they all sit on round tables. And each table is called a max mix table, which means people of different levels, functions and different attitudes are sitting on each table. So it's like a microcosm. Each round table is like a microcosm. And stakeholders speak straight from the heart. There are no PowerPoint presentation, no videos, but actually speaking first person straight from the heart. This is what I have experienced your organization as. This is what is making me happy in dealing with you. This is what is making me unhappy, because I feel my expectations in dealing with you have not been met. So the first part of this large-scale meeting is always listening to the voices of the stakeholders. At the end of each session with the stakeholder, each table is told to ask a question of clarification if required. So not that every table gets a chance, but many tables are getting a chance to ask questions of clarification, not to defend anything, but to seek questions of clarifications. After this is over, each round table is given an exercise to introspect about how do we see the world through the eyes of the stakeholders. And after looking at it from the eyes of all our stakeholders, what are we feeling glad about, what are we feeling sad about, and what are we feeling mad about. So each table collects the glad, sads and mads. The most important items are written down on ivory cards. They are all put together. Then a logistics team that has planned out the whole convention center, the physical logistics and all the facilities, because their role is very crucial. This logistics team then does the affinity of all the cards collected from all the tables. So they put them into families of ideas which are given captions. And finally, all the glad, sad and mads are brought back to the larger conference room, and each table votes on the most important glad, sads and mads through a multi-voting process, and then finally the whole community agrees on the glad, sads and mads. By that time, everybody is now on the shared picture on where is the organization now. Then a smaller team, which is like the design team, which has been working with the leadership team on creating something like a draft vision, presents that draft vision to everybody. And this is then discussed on each table, and suggestions are given for addition, deletion and modifications. They are collected, they are put together through an affinity process. Again, a multi-voting process is done, and finally suggestions are accepted for modifying the draft vision. By the end of this session, everybody has ownership of the vision for the organization. Then the third part of the meeting is all about doing an exercise on what is called preferred futuring. That means each table is told, if this vision has to come true, what should be some of the things we should actually do. So people are asked to write ideas on yellow post-it notes, and then each table is given flip chart stands and flip charts, and they put all these yellow post-it notes. So if there are 10 people on a round table, they put maybe 50-60 post-it notes. And then they do an affinity process and take out themes for implementation. Then each table presents their best themes for implementation. They are all displayed everywhere on the walls of the convention center. Then once again an affinity process is done and a multi-voting process is done, and themes for implementation are accepted. After that, there is an exercise done on natural work group planning. That means people are divided into their natural work groups. So the production people sit together, the quality people sit together, sales people sit together, for example, and they discuss on if they have to implement these things, what is their own role going to be in the implementation, and what are their expectations from each other. This process was described by Kathy Dan Miller as giving each other Valentines. So people give each other expectations, every group listens to each other's expectations, And then the last part of the exercise is every natural group gets up and on behalf of their team gives a commitment on what will they do to implement the change. And that is the exercise of giving personal commitments. And by the way, right through this process, which typically lasts 2 or 3 days, people at the end of the day, the facilitators sit together, they get feedback on every day about all the sessions, and they learn from the feedback and improve upon the process. And that's how large groups of people enter the room with an intention to make a plan to transform the company and leave the room with a plan that they are all committed to. So it's a fantastic process for simultaneously involving all the stakeholders, and I have never seen it fail. This unique technology was transferred by Kathy Dan Miller and her colleagues to us. Those days I was the head of iShare consultancy. They transferred the knowledge to us with 3 conditions. They said, you should teach it to as many other people in India as possible, to academics, to other consultants. Then they said you should actually implement it in companies not just for profit but not for profit. And the 3rd condition they gave was to us that they will do all this work free of charge for us, because Kathy Dan Miller said she owes her life to Deepak Chopra because she was seriously sick and Deepak healed her. And she said, I owe this to the people of India. So we are very happy to announce the Kathy Dan Miller Memorial Workshop. This is in honor of the late Kathy Dan Miller, who passed away. And by the way, on the day she passed away, I was doing a large-scale interactive process for a client with thousands of people, and we observed silence in her honor. And Kathy, to honor her work to India, and we all owe a debt to her. So in her honor, we are doing the Kathy Dan Miller Memorial event. All of us are donating our time to do this work, and the surplus out of this event will be donated to Chinmaya Organization of Rural Development, which is transforming the lives of millions of people in the country, the poorest of the poor in Himachal Pradesh, Odisha, Tamil Nadu and Andhra. So I really want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this presentation, and I invite you to participate wholeheartedly and train the trainer. I hope you will master this technology. I hope you will put it to good use for your company and all your stakeholders. Thank you very much.